Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Oh.
George.
Oh, hey, sorry, guys. I'm leaving some comments on my favorite porn site.
Look at it.
This is hothawking.com.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Ride me hard. Ride me all night long, you bitch.
No. Okay.
My God.
Now we're demonetized. Thank you.
My God, George.
So I love reading the comments. So you have people on right now from Australia, London, Honolulu, New Jersey, and
Good list there.
I mean,
Australia,
and Jersey,
and
Greece,
Jersey.
Greece. Yeah. So I mean, think about again. I know we say this a lot, but 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like the notion that we would just be casually chatting with our friends around the freaking world and like most continents of the world would be amazing.
Cheers, everybody.
Real time. Yeah.
Real time.
Yeah.
With only minimal cursing. Yeah.
I can't help but I have to say this.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is selling $100,000 watches.
Yeah.
Worth every cent.
I just thought I'd say that. I just thought I'd put that out there. See what happens.
Did you see the coin? He has a coin now too.
Yeah.
So the coin is it's $200, I think.
Yeah. I thought I heard 100 or wait, I
or 100. It's 100, but it's got like $8 worth of silver in it or something.
Yeah.
So it's only worth like $8.
Mm-hmm.
So legitimately, if it's
our coin's only $15.
There you go.
And it has $0.
High-end
silver
Swiss-made coin. And watch, if it's a legit Swiss-made watch, which it says on there that it is, that it could cost like $50,000 to make it.
To make it or to sell?
It's got diamonds on it and stuff. That's the thing. It's got 100 diamonds on it, and it's like
if it's all legit, it could be very expensive. But that's not the point. The point is that he should not be doing this.
Yeah. No, he's monetizing his presidency, his run for the presidency.
Of course.
Yeah, he's been doing this
and
from day one.
It specifically says on the site that it's not for the campaign.
Right.
And there's no refunds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's a grift from top to bottom.
He's the Alex Jones of politics, basically.
Yeah. Even
alpha brain. Though we need that. We need whatever Trump's alpha brain is.
Yeah, it's the drops.
Orange brain.
Orange brain.
He should get into pseudoscience. I mean, he would kick ass if he was smart.
Yeah, it is. Well,
it kind of is, right?
Kind of is, yeah. I mean, he's been a conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, etc. From day one.
Birthing.
Do you guys do your own laundry?
Yeah,
I'm doing laundry right now.
Right now,
as we speak.
That's nice.
My wife and I split duties, and
I was going to ask, like, how does that work out? How does that work out in the family there? Like, who's responsible for what? Do your kids do their own laundry as well, or is that a whole separate thing?
Our kids do their own laundry.
Wow.
For a while, I mean, basically starting in like high school.
Okay.
Not that we don't ever do their laundry, but you know, they were like expected to throw a load in, if they need, and definitely when they get hit like college.
Right.
Jocelyn does most of the laundry. I'm not going to pretend like it's 50-50. She's away this weekend, which is why I'm doing a load of laundry myself today.
Okay.
But I do 100% of the outside duties. I do more shopping than grocery shopping. She doesn't like to do grocery shop. We kind of split cooking. And
you don't have to justify. I'm
just saying it's not.
I do other stuff too. I totally do other stuff.
I'm just saying we don't split every task 50-50.
Sure. Right.
I do some things, she does other things. We kind of do what we hate the least. You know what I mean?
Okay. Right.
In terms of like chores.
How about you, Jay? Similar thing or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a moving target. It just depends on, like, my wife goes away a lot.
Yeah.
For work.
So you're on when she's away.
Yeah, I mean, the laundry does kind of build up when she's gone because, like, I'm totally fine doing everything but the folding part.
That's the best part. That's the best part, man.
It's a wiring thing. I have no control over it.
Yeah.
I wish I.
That's the finish line. That's like when it's all
putting
warm.
stuff away.
Yeah, it's like warm, and it's like you've just pulled it out, and then you get to fold it, and it's like.
But also, my wife works at academic schedule. She has summers off.
Yeah.
So in the summer, we're she definitely does way more in the summer than the rest of the year. And so she just started up her academic year again, at the beginning of September. Yeah. And she always has to remind you, like, all right, Steve, I'm going back to work now. Summer's over. So no more like expecting me to do like the disproportionate amount of the housework.
Do you have one big hamper for both of you? Do you have your own hampers? What's
No,
what
one big
hamper situation?
hamper.
one
The kid.
very-
So again, right now, like Julia's married and living on her
Right,
own. Autumn is at college.
Right.
But the girls had their hamper and we have our hamper.
Okay.
Autumn still has a hamper because she still lives here, even
Sure,
though she's,
sure.
she's at college. But yeah, so it's one adult, one kids.
Do you separate whites and colors?
Yeah,
Do you?
of course.
Okay.
How
No,
could you not do that?
no, because like sometimes
You don't need it.
I don't necessarily.
I
Depends.
You
Depends how
don't need to
bad the
listen to
whites
the
are.
offspring.
Yeah.
You can keep them separated.
Everything to do with the
Or
kitchen
not.
is basically me, and then anything to do with bathrooms and clogs and stuff like that. You know, it's I do all the gross stuff.
Yeah.
You kill the bugs?
Anything that deals with animals, like anything that
right.
an animal is involved,
Yeah.
it's
Bears.
100%. Yeah.
Right. Bears, bugs,
Bears,
mailmen,
raccoons,
right. FedEx guys.
orangutans. Yeah,
Right.
anything like that.
You get those Connecticut orangutans
Yeah.
outside the door.
They're the scariest.
I mean, I have 2 young kids, and it's like, you know, I've said this to them. I'm like, it's as if you are deliberately making this hard on me. You know what I mean? I'm like trying to explain to them. I'm like, it's so easy.
Honestly, Jay, that's not a useful tact. It's just not true.
I know
Right.
it doesn't help.
They're gonna go, "Oh, Father, forgive me.
No.
I'm so sorry."
That's
I
your-
try to
that's
reward them, and
it's
it's like,
it's just that's not an effective approach in my
no,
opinion.
it isn't.
Do they have chores? What are their chores, Jay? Like you have a chore list? How did you guys do this?
We've tried everything. I mean,
Yeah.
they're supposed to keep their rooms clean.
Okay.
They are supposed to put their dirty laundry in their own hampers.
Okay.
They're supposed to like do their homework when they get home from school and hang their bags up.
Okay.
They're supposed to bring dishes to the sink when they're supposed to. Now, and I say they're supposed to.
Sure. Those are
That-
implied actions.
Yeah.
Right.
That means that they're not doing it, but they're supposed to.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
But yeah. So what's the enforcement mechanism? Is there an enforcement mechanism or no?
Sometimes I make them
yeah.
sleep out in the deck at night.
By the bears?
Look, I've
Perfect.
tried everything. Nothing works. It's
Wow.
yeah,
You
nothing
just
works.
use guilt. Guilt works well, but we've been programming our kids from day one, so that works fine. Yeah, we didn't. I think
You have a
I
chart?
I-
Did you the chart thing?
No,
You
we
do
never
that
did
We tried that.
anything elaborate. It just it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
They know what they're supposed to do, and we're like, do it. If they don't, they generally do it. But if they don't, we pressure them to do it. and
What
they
was
do
the
it.
punishment? Is there a
We
punishment?
never had to actually punish them for not doing their chores.
Wow.
You're lucky.
We just would guilt them into it.
So no, go to your room, no dinner, like none of those traditional.
I don't think
things?
I ever sent my kids to their room.
Never, right? Okay.
Ever.
Wow.
The only discipline that we did was timeout.
Okay.
Right. And that worked like a charm.
Really?
It was so effective. We programmed them with the timeout so well.
Corner of the
And
room? Like what's the deal? Where would they go?
Typically they would sit on the stairs.
Oh,
and
right.
Sit on the stairs for 5 minutes, and they would hate it. They would hate it. There was just something about they were in prison, even though they're just sitting on the stairs. And we would always the other thing is you have to give them a chance to avoid it. You can't give them the punishment retroactively.
Right.
You can't say that's it. You're in a timeout. It has to be all right. Stop doing what I don't want you to do, or do what I want you to do in 3 seconds, or you're going to time out. 3, 2, 1, and then that's it. You're in a timeout. Like it has to be no compromise. 100%. It's the hammer of God. When you say you're going in a timeout,
it's no compromise.
A force of nature, no compromise. They know 100% it's happening, and then you do it. And then after a while, all we had to do was say 3, and now it's it. They would instantly stop doing whatever it is we didn't want them to do.
Now they're scared of the number 3.
Right. Now they're triphobic. Yeah.
George, there's one currency in my house, and it's screen time.
Screen time. Okay.
That's
so you can
all
limit.
that matters.
And that's television, that's devices, that's and you can say you're done. No.
If you this is typical because when the school weekends, right? Because we're in school now.
Yeah.
Well, Friday when they get home from school, that's the beginning of their access to screens. So it could be Monday, and I'll be like, if you keep doing that, I'm going to take an hour of screen time away from you on Friday. And then it could progress to the whole weekend. It could be if they keep doing it and whatever's happening.
Sure. Are you a good enforcer? Do you carry through, or do you
Oh,
cave?
yeah. I mean, if we take screen time away, it's gone. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there is no coming back from that. We don't ever let them like, can I make it? Like, no, it's
If
like,
they whine their way out of it, you are reinforcing the whining.
Of course, of course. I
whatever
see that.
they
You see
do-
that in public all the time. Like,
yeah, whatever they do to
the
get out
mom's
of
like,
it.
we're not going to the thing. You're like, no, you're totally going, Mom. You have no cachet. The kid knows you're just
Yeah.
bluffing, and it's not going to work. The kid knows. The kid knows that you're
Yeah.
just. We're gonna go see Lion King. We're in the car. We're not going to not go see Lion King because we're going to
Yeah.
go do it. Yeah. Oh man, that's fascinating. I saw this
Yeah.
whole thing about a guy saying when talking to kids that if you pose questions as opposed to statements, it helps to sort of it prevents
Yeah.
arguing
Mhm.
because it's as opposed to like do this, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's an argument as opposed to how do you think that makes me feel when you don't do what you need to do, or like why do you not get to do what your sister's doing?
Yeah.
And then it becomes this like thing. I don't know how effective that is. Just
Well, I mean,
on the outside watching. It's
Requires a lot of
yeah,
patience.
I will comment on that. So that's fine to engage the kids,
Mm.
but you don't do it in the moment.
Right.
In the
Okay.
moment, you get control.
Right.
That's it. You also never make it about yourself. Like I would never say, "How do you think that makes me feel?"
Okay.
It's
Right.
never about you.
Yeah.
They're not responsible for how their parents feel.
Right.
Right? Their parents should be.
That's
right.
later.
Yeah.
That's
later.
once you're in bed in
Right.
90.
It's just so then it's like once if the situation's under control, then you could say, all right,
Right.
this is why we do it this way, or don't, or whatever. Then you can rationalize with them, but you can't rationalize with them in the moment.
In the moment,
This is all
yeah.
age dependent. As I just
Sure.
said, it's a moving target, but until they're like middle school, high school age, like trying to reason with them is
Right.
pointless. It's
Oh,
utterly
I
pointless.
see the reasoning sometime with like a
Yeah.
like a 5-year-old, and it's like, no, don't do that. Just say no. Like it's
It's-
gonna suck for 8 seconds, and then they'll forget about it.
Yeah, right. No, they're guardrails. There's no reasoning. There are just guardrails.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then soft guardrails are if you are very, very consistent, they're all you need. Occasionally you may need a hard guardrail, but I mean like single digits times I had to like physically control my kids,
Okay.
because they were
yeah.
having a meltdown. I mean,
Right.
this is only like when they get up before age 5, like
Right.
a toddler meltdown. Yes, you have to
Tired, no
physically-
nap.
there's like at that point you have to read the kids too. All right, at this point there's only one solution, and that's to me physically grab them and get
Right.
control of the situation.
Were you guys in the novella house? Were you how were you punished?
When we were kids,
When you were kids, was there
our parents had
spanking?
no idea what they were doing. Yeah, so when we were very young, there was spanking.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
that went away. I think my mother put an end to that when we were 6-ish,
Okay.
7-ish.
Do you have memories of that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, my father would take out the strap, right?
Oh,
that was
jealous,
sort of
yeah.
that was the big threat.
Yeah, right.
And I remember
right.
one time he hit me with the strap. It wrapped around my ass and hit me right in the dick.
Oh my gosh, the old
I went
Indiana
down-
Jones.
I went
Shit,
down
dude.
for the count.
Wow.
And I think that was one of the events that pushed them into this is not
Like, whoa.
this is no longer
Damn,
an
dude, I didn't
appropriate
even-
punishment.
I
Do you
was
remember
too
what
young,
you
I
did?
think.
Do you remember what you had done?
I have
idea.
no idea.
Okay.
And then after
Oof.
that, the go-to punishment was go
Yeah.
to your room.
Go to
Yeah.
your room.
Yeah.
And then we'd sit on the stairs and scream.
Or we would, like throw paper airplanes down. Please, I'm sorry. Please, can we come downstairs? And my mother would cave every time.
Okay.
Yeah. Now they were
Wow.
overwhelmed. There were 5 of us, and they
Of
were
course.
They
I
were
can't
overwhelmed.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. There wasn't that much physical stuff happening. I mean, I remember my
No.
dad. It was
Just
like
when we were very young. There's probably a few times when it
extreme
happened.
Yeah.
cases. My dad used to like make me stand on a chair in the kitchen and say the Hail Mary like 5 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Stand on a chair.
Yeah. I don't know why I was on the chair. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Wow. That's
Yeah, that's-
interesting.
Yeah, so this was 60s, 70s. They had no idea.
Sure.
what
Of
they were
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
They
nobody
were-
had-
They
yeah.
were improvising, and
course.
it was in retrospect, it was all nonsensical stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would.
Shakespearean soliloquy. Go.
This is a general statement, but I mean, I think parents back then, like, it's not like today where there's so much literature and
Yeah.
Right.
when we actually talk about it. I mean, I remember like I
Yeah.
talk to Steve about it all the time. Get advice from him because he's been through it, and Steve is giving me a lot of really good techniques and stuff. But like back then, like my parents
Use the belt. Hit him in the dick.
Yeah.
It works great. They'll never mouth off again. It's amazing.
we were we were half feral when we were kids. I mean,
Yeah,
we were
sure.
outside all
Of
the
course.
time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's the cliche of like, like you leave at 8 and come back at 8. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
the day would be like, okay, come back when the lights are on, the street lights are out or on, and yeah, I wonder,
Yeah.
there's an appeal to that because you get this autonomy, as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, and you're on your bike and you're a mile from your house.
Yeah.
It's amazing we survived our childhood.
Seriously.
It is
doubt, man.
absolutely amazing that we
Yeah,
survived.
Yeah, we had
Many-
access
many
to lots of
didn't.
dangerous shit, and
Yeah.
it was I look back on it and I'm just like, God damn, what the hell were my parents thinking? Like
Yeah.
I would have a heart attack if my kids lived in the environment that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember
We had access to firearms, to fireworks,
yeah,
and
like
gasoline.
cans of gasoline,
to
I was gonna
unlimited
say,
amounts of
right.
gasoline,
Hairspray and lighters. Yeah, it was like that was a whole weekends of entertainment.
to alcohol, like
Yeah.
unfettered access to pretty
Yeah.
much anything.
Yeah,
I got drunk when I was 4 years old.
4.
Yep,
Yeah,
I did. Legit. They had to.
and we turned out fine.
Yeah.
We were good. Yeah.
Mhm.
I always
Right.
love that. My dad hit me, and I'm fine. Are you? Are
Yeah.
you really?
But
Are
are
you?
you-
Are you
There's
really
also
fine?
survivor bias, right? Because the kids
Sure.
who died are not around.
Of course. Yeah, I didn't wear a helmet. Well, yeah, okay, but there's like those 10,000 kids that did.
That did not wear a helmet
They did
and
not
died.
wear and died.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like what about them? Yeah, I remember
yeah,
one
yeah.
time getting on my bike and trying to do a Superman thing. So like I lay on my bike with like my
Mhm.
my pelvis on the thing with my legs straight
Yeah.
out the back, and it worked for a couple seconds, and then this started, and
Mm.
I flew and I hit myself on the front of the thing, and I just kind of walked home and walked into the kitchen, and Dad was like making something. He was doing something. He kind of just looked at me, and he like knew. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "A bike hit," and I just lost it. And I
Yeah,
had this lump on my head. I
Lump.
mean,
Oh my God!
I
George.
totally could have died. I mean, I
Yeah.
completely,
Oh, yeah,
100%.
hell yeah.
You probably
brain
had a
damage.
concussion. Yeah.
No question. No
I,
question.
I remember like we would build ramps for our BMX bikes,
Yeah, right.
and then
All the construction. Yeah.
it wasn't good enough that we had a ramp that we would launch ourselves off of, but we had to be jumping over something that
Over
we
something.
thought was dangerous.
This is Evil Knievel time, Jay.
Oh, yeah,
We were
yeah, no,
Right.
totally.
absolutely emulating Evil Knievel as best
yeah.
as we could on bicycles. You know?
My friend and I, we tried to build a hang glider, right? so we're using
That's awesome.
2x4s
love it.
and like bed sheets, right? So this thing
Yeah.
weighs like 40 pounds because we've built this massive thing, and we convinced ourselves we're going to have lift. We just have to get high enough
Yeah.
for the lift to work. So he went and got onto his shed, onto his parents' shed, which was like 15 feet tall, and he jumped off the shed with this 40-pound and just like went crashing to the ground. Somehow didn't break his ankles, somehow didn't bust his knees or his,
Yeah.
but he was like, he went first. I'm
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
go first. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But that was the kind of stuff you did because there was no internet.
Right. Oh, I got injured so many times falling, jumping out of trees.
Steve, you got shot in the ass with a pellet gun.
I did.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah. No
Wait,
goggles, nothing.
did you was that in your ass for a while too? Like or did it come out?
No.
Didn't one of you have a BB in your hand or something for a while? Or am I
don't know.
making
I never had a
story up?
BB in me. I got hit by more than one BB
Oh, okay.
in my life. I had nails through my feet.
Oh, yeah.
I broke both my wrists in one tree falling.
In
accident.
one
Ooh.
accident. I remember when Steve came back home when he stepped on it was like a massive thorn, and it went through his sneaker, through his foot, and out the top of the sneaker.
Yeah.
Wow.
And-
A thorn, a natural thorn?
Yeah.
It went
Oh
right
my
through his
God.
foot. And I remember that, and I remember like because there was always, there's so many of us that there was like a
Right.
scene, it was like a ruckus. But I do remember when Steve broke his wrists, we were, for some reason, me, Bob, and Joe were upstairs watching TV.
Yeah.
Steve was out doing Tarzan,
Yeah.
and he had already been brought to the hospital before we found out anything because it all happened really quick, and they got him in the car and they took him. So I remember like, what? Steve went to the hospital? Like, when did this happen? It felt like he was gone for 10 minutes. And Steve had 2 casts for an entire summer.
Mm.
Oh,
And-
man.
And Steve played wiffle ball better than anybody because of those casts.
Oh,
Because he
It locks
would
off
hit
your
them with
thing, right?
Oh man, George, it was unreal. I've never
so
seen
you
anybody
fell
hit
out of
it
a
with-
tree on your hands? Like
Yes,
you just landed on your
exactly.
hands and
I
snapped?
landed like that.
Oh, wow.
Could not open the door to get into the house.
Oh man.
How
and-
old were you? How old were you?
Middle school, so whatever
Middle
that,
school.
11,
Okay. Oh my God.
and was going into shock.
Yeah.
Apparently.
You
Yes,
walked
that
home.
That was my backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Okay.
It was my
okay.
backyard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it was 50 feet from the.
Were you trying to do something cool?
I
and
was
fell out?
trying. Yes, I was trying to jump from one branch onto another branch, grab it, and swing.
Yeah.
And it worked, except at the end of my swing, I lost my grip
Yes.
and fell straight down.
And oh wow.
Yeah.
For as much as I was summers, I was either in a tree or underwater. Basically, that's
Yeah.
like what my summers
Yeah.
were. I never fell out of a tree. Not once
Me
did
neither.
I fall out of a tree
Me neither.
for whatever reason. Luckily, and I again, like I try to imagine my mom looking at me, 60 feet in the air and going like, okay, like dinner.
I
Yeah.
came up. I
like,
came
"Eh."
up with a very. I thought this was so cool. I still think it was a very involved thing. Okay, so there was a rock, a big half buried boulder, right? And there was a tree that was growing up right next to it, and it was a tall tree. So my dad, because he was a contractor, there was always stuff around, right? So
Right.
he had this really heavy duty black braided rope. It was like nylon rope, right?
Mhm.
So what I did was I took 2 lengths of that rope and I climbed up the tree and I hung it over. And then I basically turned it into like a rappelling situation
Mm.
where I got towels and I would put, I'd have 2 ropes going around my waist and butt, right?
Yes,
And
the
then-
harness, yeah.
And it hurt because I've got towels to like soften it up. And then I had the other end in my hand so I could actually pull myself up
Yes.
the tree. And then I figured out that I could swing around the tree on the ropes. And it was an
Awesome.
incredible amount of fun. Now, when I look back on that, I was swinging I had to hold on to the rope. If I let go,
Mhm.
I fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was swinging around trees and a giant boulder. And I was up in the air probably 10 feet during most of this.
Sure.
Never got hurt. And I thought, and it was an incredible amount of fun, but my God, was that dangerous, boy. But the
Mhm.
most dangerous thing of all, I got to say, it was the gasoline.
It was the gasoline. Yeah.
The gasoline should have killed one of us.
Some of the fireworks too. Like I remember, I never had them, but my buddy had them, and it was like he just had access to fireworks somehow,
Mhm.
and we would blow shit up all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like,
Of course.
the eye of all my fingers is just madness.
Mhm.
Where would you
Yeah,
get gasoline? Would it be like in the garage, kind of just a jet gas?
No, my
can
dad had
kind
a
of-
gas pump.
He had a gas pump.
Yeah,
Yes.
because he would buy gasoline in bulk and he would
course.
fill up all the
He
vehicles.
would fill
right?
up his
course.
because he was in construction, so we had
Yeah.
the lower driveway was
Yeah.
for the work. So we
Right.
had separate garages, all kinds of tools and
Fantastic.
crap there. And he had his own gas tank there. He had 2 of them actually. It was 2 gas.
So what would you
tanks
do?
there.
Would you make gas bombs? Would you just build fires? What was the thing?
Lots of things. Well, you want to start with the worst thing that ever happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was down there with the gas pump, and I'm squirting it out, and then I'd light that
How
gas on
How
fire.
old are you? Like ish. Like if you
8.
had.
No, you were older than that.
I remember being really young.
I thought that was happening. I thought I was
Oh.
in, like, okay, maybe I thought I was in high school when that happened.
So,
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Okay.
so of course, what happened
Yes.
was I was dispensing more gasoline, and the ground was still on fire a little bit, and the fire went up. Now I'm spraying fire gasoline,
Yes.
and
Out of the hose.
Out of the hose.
out of
Love
the
it.
out of the thing. So then I my instincts kicked in. I dropped it and I ran away.
It's probably a good instinct.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I would watch so many movies where like cars would explode and gas tanks would explode. It was probably a lot more safe than I realized because those things were designed,
Yeah.
To not blow up.
to not blow
Yeah.
up.
So you had lit something on the ground and were feeding it more, basically.
And the
Yes,
fire
there
went
was a
up the,
time
it
when
went
I was
up the
going
stream
up
of
the
gasoline
stream. Yes.
into the hose.
I was going like this. I didn't know what to do. And looking back, I'm just like, it's incredible. It's funny. And then there's a part of me that's like, man, my dad was crazy
Yeah.
for not having those keys. Like they needed to be in a safe all by themselves, like they were just on a hook, And
Yeah,
there was
there was
So
no
it was locked. It was
There was
locked.
no security. There
Right.
was no
Okay.
security.
Okay. Yeah, it's always that. Yeah, the kids are fine. They're
Yeah.
busy. They're good. They're good. They're not watching TV. It's okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
somebody wanted to
Wow.
know how far from the house was that. I mean, it was so we had
It's 20 feet from the corner of the house. I mean, it was not. It was right,
it was
adjacent to the house, basically.
I mean, it was basically a driveway width away.
yeah.
It was on the other side of the driveway. Um,
So it was along the house. Like if you walked out the basement door, you'd be on that driveway, and right across from that was one of the gas tanks.
yeah.
Have your kids done anything close to something like that?
Nothing
No.
close to the shit we did, but
Nothing close.
so
right?
a couple of injuries. So one time the girls were sledding down the hill in the back of our yard. We have a pretty good hill in the back behind our house, and
Oh yeah.
but there isn't really a place to stop because it sort of ends at a fence.
Right.
Yeah.
They were playing with the neighborhood kids.
That's details.
So their plan was, and apparently this is what they were doing, they would, go down the hill and then bail right before they hit the fence. So Julia and Autumn were going through. Autumn was in front, Julia was in back.
Yeah.
And they're getting close to the fence, and Julie's like, Autumn, bail, bail, bail. But she didn't. So Julia stayed with her. So neither of them bailed, and they went right through the fence.
Yeah.
And then it's about a 6 feet drop.
Yeah.
And then you land on the, because it's a fence and then a retaining wall and then the woods,
Right.
So they basically went through the fence.
So cartoon-like, left the shape of the thing in the fence.
Well, I think what happened was they broke it's like 2 cross beams and then pickets.
Yeah.
So they broke the lower cross beam. The fence lifted up and then came back down behind them.
So they were essentially trapped out of the yard at that point.
They were trapped in the forest out of the yard. So one of the neighborhood kids runs up to get me, right? Because he didn't know what was going on. And Julia was fine. Autumn busted her lip open.
Oh gosh.
Totally busted it open.
Yeah.
So I called the ER. I cleaned it up. I have first aid stuff at home.
Right.
Cleaned it up best I could. And then called the ER, spoke to one of the attendings there, told him what the injury was. He said, listen, we don't do anything for lip lacerations. So just clean it up and it'll heal in.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. So okay, so it saved me a trip to the ER just to hear do nothing.
Yeah.
So that was it, and it healed fine. You can't tell it happened.
Yeah.
Like it's 100%. But
was she freaked out?
Oh,
was she was a mess.
They were shaken.
Yeah. Okay.
2-3 weeks later.
Yeah.
We were coming back from a trip to Florida, and Autumn has little specks on her face. Like there's something going on. She has an infection, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, the next day, we keep her home from school. I'm going to take her to the pediatrician. And I remember I was in the bathroom and I'm thinking, oh God, I'm trying to figure out what the infection is, right? I'm trying to remember back to medical school, dermatology class. And, they were like these honey crusted kind of lesions. And when I said that to myself, I'm like, it's impetigo. I just triggered that memory. Like I studied for that test, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So she had impetigo, which is basically caused by ground bacteria. So she got some soil bacteria in there when she went through the fence. And then you have to just, that was like 2 weeks of treatment, hot compresses and whatnot.
Yeah.
The thing that Julia did was she was dancing around the house, and she stepped on a music box. Like this big, like a music box.
Yeah.
That had a glass top.
Ah.
Her foot went right through it, broke the glass.
Yes.
And lacerated her foot.
Yeah.
So now she's like 6, right? 5, 6, 7, something like that. So her little girl instinct was, I did something wrong.
Right.
I'm going to get in trouble.
Right. Let me hide it.
I should hide it.
Oh no.
So I'm right in the other room. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So the first thing I noticed was a trail of blood.
Oh God.
Right on the floor.
Right.
And our first floor is like a continuous thing. This is the old design. Like we had the kitchen redesigned after the flood, but the old design was, there are different rooms, but there's a continuous circuit you can make through the rooms. So I'm following the trail of blood, which led to Julia, clearly. No, she was freaked out.
Just freaked out. Okay,
she was standing on one foot, her other foot's dripping on the floor.
Oh, poor girl. Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm like, what happened? So I did my first aid, and then that was a trip to the ER. She needed stitches. I think they gave her butterflies actually, but
okay. Okay.
It wasn't that bad, but it was through the skin. It was like, yeah, this is an ER visit.
So the lesson is don't ever express joy through dance.
Yes,
That's
that's
correct.
right.
Very good.
Kids.
Beat that out of her.
We
Just
did get a
leave it
video.
inside.
We got a video of Jay doing that little fire routine. I don't know if you guys want to see that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Please,
Yeah,
let's
okay.
see.
Is Jay. And his
There he is.
boat.
There's the
There he
driveway.
is. Oh,
There's a 12-year-old Jay.
Whoops.
How is he throwing fire?
This is a safety demonstration,
It's a
right?
safety demonstration. This is classic.
What the hell? How did he swing his
Love it.
arm and fire?
Was that augmented or was that really what happened?
No, that's really what happened. Apparently.
There.
that.
Now make sure,
Fire,
kids,
and then-
don't
Whoop.
ever throw your drink at the mayor. Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, sorry.
I used to get in Patago because I would get mosquito bites and then I would scratch them and scratch
Yeah.
them and scratch
And your
them.
hands were dirty.
Yeah, and my mom, she would literally staple
Yeah.
bandages to cover, and I would dig under the bandage, and I would obsessively scratch, and then I would get these. That's how I know the word impetigo, because I was 6 or 7. Be like, Yuki, you got impetigo again. I'm like, I can't help it. It feels so good when you.
Oh,
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
that's
I
like-
know.
Yeah.
I had that once. We were dirty. I was like,
Oh God.
my dad. There was I remember
showers.
for a long time there was a giant. I'm talking 10 feet tall pile of dirt in our backyard, and
That was the best, right?
It was
the
incredible.
best. Yeah. That's all you needed, like a pile of dirt.
Yeah.
There was I'm at the middle school where during the summers my dad would sort of play tennis, and they were redoing the fields there at one point, like the football field and the baseball field, and so they had piled it and made this mountain of dirt that was 6 stories high.
Yeah.
The whole summer was that mountain. It was the best.
Yeah.
Just up and down and up and down.
We
and
basically
down.
lived in a construction site,
Right.
right?
That's amazing.
And we had
That's
access to
amazing.
everything, tools and
Right.
lumber.
Yeah. Right.
And, we built. How many tree houses did we build?
Christ.
And yeah, just
Constantly doing stuff like that.
My parents were having their sort of back patio staircase redone by these construction guys. I think I was 4 or 5 maybe. And I'm fascinated by it. I'm watching this whole operation because it's just competent guys doing work, pouring concrete and stuff. And the main construction dude comes over and he hands me a hammer and a nail and a board. And he says, you got to put this nail into this board. Maybe I was 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So it's that was my job. So I nailed this one. It took me probably an hour to get this, big ass 10 penny nail
You
into the
loved it.
board. Loved it. And I walked over to him and I showed it to him. He whips out this mountain of this stack of cash, right? He's got this mafia stack, Goomba stack of cash. And he slips off a 5 or a 1 or something. And he handed it to me. He said, that's a good day's work. That's a good day's work. I was
Wow.
this is amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't become a construction guy. They somehow became a musician after that. I don't know. It was the coolest. I'll never forget. This
Oh my God, I love that.
wad. I'm like, this guy's got $1 billion. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, back then it was all cash, right? I mean, my dad used to have that. He used to say, "I got to go reload." That was him having to go to the bank and get out.
You pay the guys. End of the day, you pay the guys,
Yeah.
right? It's amazing.
Yeah, you always had a wad of cash.
Wad, right? Right.
Wad.
And my dad's wallet was legit, one of those super
Costanza.
fat black leather,
Right.
shiny black leather wallet that had been pulled out of his pocket a million times. Yeah. So I mean, it's a miracle that we're here. This podcast statistically should never have happened.
Right. Right.
Right, Steve? We just shooting
figure.
arrows. I mean,
Right. Oh, I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did the arrow in the sky one time. Because I got this
yeah.
bow and arrow finally, and I shot this thing. And as I'm letting it go, I'm thinking this is probably a really bad idea. And boom, and I didn't mind it was in my yard, but at one point the angle was off, and it went to my neighbors, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill a cat. I'm gonna kill who knows. And luckily, it just landed.
We had a big buffer, so there was we had basically we're surrounded by a couple acres, but yeah, we did the whole arrow straight in the air. George, we did the tie an M80 to the tip of the arrow,
Oh, nice.
light it, and
Yes.
then shoot it.
Quick.
Now and then hope that you get the timing right.
Right.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
still flying.
You imagine it's going to explode at the peak
Right.
of its height.
No,
but of course
never.
it
Biff,
comes
right.
down,
Yeah.
and then explodes where you don't want it to.
Yeah, and then somebody says, I'm gonna light it, and you got to wait 10 seconds.
Right,
Yeah.
count to 10.
And you're like,
Yeah.
you
Next
wanna be
time,
the
don't
guy.
shoot right away. Like
Yeah.
wait a few
Yeah.
seconds.
We had bottle rocket fights.
Yeah.
You know, so you
Oh,
would
yeah.
take a pipe and you would launch them at each other. You'd have like a a winter coat on or something.
Yeah. George, Roman candles.
Oh, Roman
Oh,
candles were
right.
the best.
Oh,
man.
Boom, boom,
They were the
boom.
Right? Fip, fip, fip.
We literally did that.
And
Yeah,
then when
okay.
the charges ran out, we'd use them as swords. You know.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
If my father was ever there,
Yeah.
he would do it with us.
Right.
Like he wouldn't
Encourage.
he wouldn't discipline us.
Yeah.
He was right there.
This
with
is how
us.
you launch it.
This
Do it
is how
way.
you do it. Seriously,
Yeah.
we had our whole
Yeah.
rocket phase, right, where we would launch
Oh, right.
rockets.
Sure.
Oh,
sure.
that was awesome.
That was awesome. We launched
Like the C4 and the
Yeah, put the engine in
big
there.
giant ones.
yeah.
I still remember the epic one. We may have said this. It's just the gantry was broken. You know, the rod that you put the rocket on
Oh, sure. Okay.
to keep it upright.
Yeah.
So this, of course, doesn't mean that you don't launch your rocket.
Of course.
The gantry's
Hello.
broken.
Yeah.
So my father said, "I'll just hold it, you know, and then I'll let go at the last second." So he's holding
Oh no.
the rod
Yeah.
while it's going off, and then let go. But of course, he lets go a second too soon.
Yeah.
The rocket falls over and
Oh,
goes
God.
horizontal,
Love it.
hits a tree, and is
Explodes.
disintegrated
Yeah.
like against
Yeah.
the tree. Of
Yeah.
course, that could have gone in any direction.
Mhm.
You know, just happened to go away from us,
Right.
which
Towards
was nice.
And none of us
inanimate
complained
tree.
because it looked awesome.
It was
you know?
awesome. We were like, "Yay!" You know.
I had a rocket launch once. We built this monster rocket with the D engines in it, and we were like, "This thing is going to go to the moon." We are so psyched. This thing is going to go to the moon. And we put it on the thing, and you have the pole, you know, and we slide it down the pole, and it was kind of like hard to get it down the pole. So we sort of like, so we thought, that's fine. Okay, it'll go.
No.
We light the thing, and it takes off. It like launches, right? But it doesn't go really high. It goes like, 30, 40 feet up and sort of then just comes down. We realized it had taken the pole with it.
With it.
The pole was stuck in it. So it had this
Yeah.
like, whatever,
Oh my
2-pound
God.
pole that it launched with this thing. And I thought,
Oh man.
the other cool thing was I used to go to these 3-week-long summer camps up in the Catskills, or upstate New York, Ukrainian scout camp.
Yeah.
And the guys that ran the camp, who I'd like, now I realize they were like 19 and 20,
Yeah.
like I was there as a 7, 8, 10-year-old.
There were adults
And like
too,
the
yeah.
adults were like 17 to 25, maybe, like with the oldest guy being maybe 30. Well, they got their hands on a bunch of rockets and they were doing rocket launches and stuff. But then they figured, oh, wait a minute, we can do like special effects. So we would have this one big bonfire, like the last night of the whole thing. Traditionally, you have a bonfire, which you would send out into a lake. There was this like little lake and you would send the bonfire and it was a whole thing. And so they did. So, we're all there and it's like they're dealing all the sort of the myth, the Ukrainian cultural myths about woodland fairies and all this kind of shit. And it's great. It's like we're kids and we're buying into it. It's fantastic. They build this massive bonfire on a floating platform and they launch the platform into the middle of the lake. Now, normally they light it and launch it out, but if they launch it unlit, and then one of these spirits comes out of the woods and he points at the fire, right? And the thing just like, it lights up. Turns out they had taken rocket engines and they had put the rocket engines in the thing, and they had the cables were going like they were dark. We couldn't see the cables under the water. And they put the freaking rocket engines in the thing and lit the fire from like 20 feet away, 50 feet away. And it was like absolute magic. It was
That is so cool. What a great idea.
thing. And we were like we're totally seeing the woodland sprites
Right.
light the fire from a distance. It was amazing. So cool. I'll never forget that. And then finally, like years later, like, no, we had rocket engines. So I saw the one guy, I'm like, what was the deal? Like, was it a timer? Was it like, no, we had rocket engines. Like, oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, I just remembered something else, Steve. We had a snowmobile.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
And we used to ride it
Oh
without
my
my dad
God,
there.
that's
Without my dad there.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was intense. And we got
Where
a
would you
lot
go?
of
So
snow.
much fun.
Where
Well,
would you go?
again,
Like
we
around
had-
town or
Well, we had a couple of acres, so
Mm.
we had a trail around our own
great.
property. So like around the house, and then there's like this empty lot next to our house. We would go through there. So we had like a couple of different circuits that we could do, and then occasionally we would take it to someplace to do like
right?
a bigger field. But yeah, man, we were like, I don't know, 10, and we were tooling around on a snowmobile. Yeah, it was fun.
Why did he have a snowmobile? Just to have one?
Because
Or
he loved it.
he just loved it?
Because he was the biggest kid in the family.
Yeah, he was.
That's why.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah. I love
that's
it.
it. Yeah, no, it was great.
Now,
And-
now, would your sister be on the periphery of all this activity, or she wouldn't be involved at all? She was not
Nothing.
interested.
Nope.
It was just the
I-
boys.
Just the boys.
Just the boys. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm trying to
all of
think
our
of
other
any.
time,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else that we did was eating.
Pretty much in
So
between
explosions,
and eating.
Yeah.
broken bones. And,
Yeah.
that's kind of childhood, right? You figure.
Yeah.
I think that
70s
my
childhood.
favorite memories really of my family were around the dinner table, because it's like, this is how I kind of remember it. Everybody was really hungry. My mom and my grandmother cooked something awesome. We'd sit down and we'd eat and talk for like an hour.
Was it every night?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, we would have
Pretty much solid. You
yeah,
would always
always.
have dinner.
always,
Yeah.
always.
Me
yeah.
too.
As a
Me too.
family event. Yeah.
I don't know how my mom did it, but the four of us, like, I mean, until one of us went to college, we had dinner, like, 5-6 nights a week. Dad was playing on Saturday, so Saturday he'd be gone
Yeah.
with his band, and we would have that would be the fun night. So it'd be like pizza or burgers or something on
Yeah.
TV. But every other night, and I think that's a massive reason why I so enjoy conversation and this kind of stuff. It's just
Yeah.
because you had that hour every day, 45 minutes or an hour of like, what did you learn today? What did you do? Or this happened or
Yeah.
that. To hear the adults talk, I used to love.
Yeah.
Oh, when my parents would complain about some other teachers or something, like we knew like, okay, what's said here, like you cannot share this with other students.
Yeah.
Like, and that was just this, we understood that was the deal, because they have to vent, they have to be able to, and they were appropriate, obviously, but sometimes, this thing about Mr. Smith or, Mrs. Watson, which they'd say and be like, ooh, adults are talking. This is amazing. This is so cool. Inside track.
We talked about science fiction and science, movies and TV shows. Like we would hyper analyze things and get into the minutia like that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, George, like that, the conversations that we had as a kid, for me, it was like all training, just all
Totally.
like, I was always pretty outspoken growing up. And I largely because I was encouraged that, people would
Sure.
actually listen to me when I talked as a kid.
As the youngest too, to get your 90 seconds probably in that chaos, that must have been something, right?
Oh, and also, I'm 5 years younger than, Steve, right?
4 years younger than
four
me.
from Steve, 5 from
5
Bob.
from Bob, yeah.
So, these guys, like, I don't know how, and I don't know why, but they let me join them and their friends for everything.
Yeah.
I did it all.
Yeah.
So I was really young, and I'm like hanging out with like people that were exceptionally older than me.
Right.
And enjoying it, like really like
Yeah.
having fun with these guys. Like, I had my own friendships with all their friends. Like I was everybody's little brother.
Mhm.
And that was freaking awesome, man. It
Yeah.
was so much fun.
My cousin is 9 years older, Roman, the artist guy, who like basically defined my musical tastes. And he was so cool because he didn't see me as being 9 years younger. It was just like, okay, like this is what you need to know. This is cool. This is not cool. This is, and we would hang and I'd hang with his friends, and yeah, super influential in terms of like to hang with the older people. Oh my God.
Yeah, definitely.
Let alone to then be like at a faculty meeting or something in the corner, kind of listening. And, the real adults who were like in their 20s and 30s. Oh my God, these old people. It's fascinating. It was so cool. What was your favorite meal that mom made?
Oh, Christ.
Was there one that like
Mhm.
that
So
stood out
many.
as
I
like
mean,
the favorite?
Yeah, I mean, basically the standby is always pasta something.
Right.
Pasta and meatballs, lasagna.
Yeah, lasagna and meatballs is probably like the best family
Yeah.
meal, which
Yeah.
was more of a special occasion. But our grandmother did most of the cooking when we were really young. My parents started cooking as we got older, but
Right.
grandma was kind of like the family cook when we were younger. She had so many classic Neapolitan dishes that were just incredible. Gunabit Sayul,
Yeah.
What's that?
it's carne pizzaiola is like the more
Okay.
like Roman way of saying it.
Yeah.
So it's just this like a beef slice.
Yes.
Yeah, thinly cut slab of beef.
Thinly cut, made
Right.
with peppers and onions and stuff.
Oh,
And
man,
And then all
delicious.
these potatoes, and then she'd put a little tomato paste in there.
Yeah.
It would kind of make its own thing. It was very simple, but it was really good. But
That's
Steve,
it, man.
Mom ended up being
Mom ended up being a better cook than our
head and
grandmother.
shoulders
Yeah.
way better.
Wow.
My
Oh,
mom
interesting.
made everything.
Well,
I
sure.
mean,
If she's doing it 6 nights a week
Oh,
for
yeah.
you.
I mean, she just
Yeah.
tried everything. You had so many different things, and it was funny because you had your favorites, and they'd be in this big rotation. Maybe like once a month or so, like she'd make homemade chicken pot pie, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. And then she'd make, spare ribs. She'd make, like barbecue type of spare ribs. She would make stuffed pork chops. And then,
now, Jay, do you have dinner with your kids?
we try, we try, but like my kids, like, again, my kids both have ADHD. It's very hard for them to like sit down and really like just keep their butt in the seat and focus. But yeah, like Courtney and I are very much like, we are doing this. We're going to sit here. We're going to talk to each other.
Yeah. Good.
I think we're like
we did that religiously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
We're two people
really tough,
short though. We need a couple more people in my family to like really make it more. You know what I mean? Because if one of us is gone, it dramatically lowers the energy.
Yeah,
in the room.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like even with just the four of us though, that was a good dynamic.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're down one, definitely.
Yeah, that was our Saturdays. We almost like knew like we couldn't have that regular 4 thing, so we would just do my sister, my mom, and I, and that was again sort of fun. Mom wouldn't cook that night, and it was like, ooh. Now it created food issues for me because it was like that's like the special food, the fun reward food.
Yeah,
and it's like
our fun reward food was holiday food, but I think the single best thing I ate in like family food as a kid was Mama's meatballs. Right, Mama's meatballs. Our grandmother, like our mother's meatballs were great, but Mama's meatballs were epic. Those were just unbelievable. She came from Italy when she was 14.
Oh wow, okay.
Never lost her accent. Like there was just, I don't know. It was just incredible.
So the thing is, she first off, she cooked her whole life. You know what I mean? Like she was
an amazing cook.
So my mother went to her many times, would go and watch her cook. And my mom's like, I'm going to get the recipes from her. And then what my mom came back and told us, what she realized was it's all intuition. It's all sensibility. Like she'd be like, what did you just do? You just put something in there. She's like, oh yeah. Basically like the response would be, it needed it.
right. Yeah.
So remember grandma and mom complaining that mama was like hiding the ingredients from them. Like she would, like when they weren't looking, she would throw something in the pot.
Right.
Like, wait, what was that?
It's a big secret.
But it wasn't like, it wasn't just written.
It's like a painter. It's like a painter just knows it needs blue. It needs blue. So
whatever.
blue.
She's just doing stuff. Mama made her chicken dish, right?
Oh shit, man.
So this was like little wings, little breasts. Like I don't know why it was it was
thighs, wings, and breasts, and they were all cut up,
legs,
all cut up individually and small. They were not large; these were like all small.
And we did get this recipe from her. And we've been able to replicate it, but you would cook it to the point where the meat would literally just falling off the bone. It was like. That is the most delicious chicken I've ever had.
But it was it was stewed kind of, but it wasn't a stew because when you could still pull out the meat and everything, and then there was peppers and onions and all that stuff in there too. But it was just that was freakishly good.
Was there a hierarchy at the table once the food is served? Was there some kind of rules in terms of like dad ate first?
The free for all. Total free for all.
Okay.
Yeah. So watch your hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Total free for all.
I definitely know. I know this that I developed fast eating.
Sure.
Because I was in a room of people who were all gourmands. Like everybody loved to eat, and it was quick, and it was like. And the thing is
to get your bones.
And there was no lapse in dialogue.
Sure.
The conversation did not ever pause because while you were chewing and swallowing, another person was talking, so it was always like this movement.
But we would have 9 to 11 people at the table.
Wow.
Yeah. Typically. Every night.
9 was the baseline.
Yeah. And that's amazing.
Usually 1 or 2 friends who were there as well.
Right.
And then there were periods of time, like we had like our sister's friend, who was a friend of the family. We were all friends.
Sandy.
Yeah. She was, I think, abused. We never got the full story when we were kids.
Yeah, we know now that her dad was abusing her.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
We just knew that she's coming to live with us for a couple of years.
Right.
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 So my parents knew, though. They knew what was going on. And So, and they basically
just
told
took her
her,
in.
you
Wow,
can
that's
stay with us.
amazing.
You
Yeah.
could come here and stay with us. So she,
And to us, it was like
Wow.
it's a permanent friend over for dinner. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was
it was
great.
fun. It was all good.
That's super honorable, man. That's
Yeah.
great. Wow, good
Oh,
for
right.
them.
My parents saved a lot of people.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were very, very generous.
There was a
Yeah.
constant open door policy. Like
Yeah.
folks could just come in. People were always welcome for dinner. And there were people that it seemed like there was always somebody living at our house that needed help,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah. And I think like that, the communal food, I'm going to be very honest. And I'll tell you a very personal thing right now.
You don't like meatballs?
I don't know where this came from. It just seems pretty natural when I tell you though, like if there is an afterlife, my afterlife is me walking into that house.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make me cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody is sitting at the table and
Yeah.
I just sit down and we just do that forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, because that was
It's a lovely thought, man. It's a lovely thought.
to me,
Yeah, you're safe. You're fed.
it was
You're
everything.
laughing.
Like we had
You're
a
loved.
bubble. We
You're
had this
loved.
bubble. It was
Yeah, man.
fun all the time. My
Yeah.
dad would be like, Friday would come and he'd be like, we saw every movie that came out.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was a constant, like enjoying each other, doing things together, and it would shift who you're hanging out with. Sometimes it's all of us. Sometimes it would be Bob and Steve. Sometimes it would be just the boys. Sometimes it would be one, it was just this constant changing of who's hanging out with who and everything. I got mad at Steve once my entire childhood. Steve was probably more mad at me because I was always fucking with his closet.
Jay was a punk. I got mad at Jay plenty of times.
Yeah.
Jay had no respect for boundaries.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, Jay. Like as a guest at the wedding 2 weeks ago, like I think the legacy of your family is exactly that.
Yeah.
That sense of safety and love and openness and food and community, like
welcome.
that and welcome. That 100% came across in how you delivered the ceremony. The way you did that. The way, the vibe of everybody afterwards, the vibe between the bridesmaids and the groomsmen and the bride and groom and like, so I think you all can feel very secure knowing that like the legacy of your parents and the legacy of your grandparents and that environment that they created for you as kids has, despite what's going on in the world now and how much more difficult it is to have that kind of an hour to provide for every night to do dinner.
Lots of us
It's really
had
impressive.
this, right? Like I think that this was pretty typical during that time. I mean, maybe it was it was stronger maybe in my family because we had more people and
it's more like diaspora kind of thing. Like first and second generations tend to do that.
Yeah.
But I crave that. I love that. I love like being in a room where you're totally comfortable with everyone and you just want to be there and have that time together.
Yeah, that's why like the best times that we have, like when we all get together, when it's because it replicates that experience we had every night when we were kids. It's like it's not just like it's our family, but now we're over at Jay's, so it's like 7 or 8 or 9 people around the table having dinner and talking and like we did for Olivia's birthday last week. Those are my favorite times.
That's why I love hosting Thanksgiving because I'll have like 25 people here and it's like and I don't even want to eat. I just love it. I just love it. It's like this experience of like I'm creating an atmosphere that all these people can kind of just be together and be like you can eat as much as you want. Like there is plenty for everybody and like just chat and talk and laugh and I love it.
There was a detail about it for us though, George. I look back on this particular thing and I think it's really cool. My dad, he was a contractor. He owned the company, so he had access to craftsmen. You know what I mean? He could, and he had a custom kitchen table built, and it wasn't a square. It was a big. It wasn't an oval, right, Steve? But it had round. There was no corners.
It was a rectangle, but with rounded corners.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you could like get the extra chairs around those. Yeah.
And I look back on that and think that was so smart. Yeah. And I don't like corners on tables. I don't like where the legs are. Like they had the legs like basically.
Yeah, there was one central big leg. right? And then the
Oh,
table
okay.
went out
So
from there.
like a
Yes.
lectern or like yeah,
So
gotcha.
everyone,
Oh,
every
wow.
place was sittable. It was a
So you can
huge
fit
table.
tons of people. Yeah,
My
yeah,
one
yeah.
complaint about that table is like iconic, but my one complaint was it was pine,
Yeah, it was
and so it
easily.
was very soft. They
Yeah.
should have made it out something a little bit harder. And so eventually we had to get rid of it because we had carved it up so
Sure.
much
Oh,
over
yeah.
the
Sure,
years.
sure.
Yeah.
So somebody asked in the comments, they're probably kidding in a sense, but they said, "Are we part of the family?" And I want to
course,
talk
yes.
about that for a minute. We all, including you, George, in a big way, we expose all of this personal stuff because we want people, when they listen to us, to know who we are.
Mhm.
Because we couldn't have ever had it any other way. Like there was no way that people from this family were going to start talking and not be themselves. Like we couldn't
Right.
be anything else. So when we meet people that listen to the show and they feel really comfortable talking to us, and it's almost like the conversation is continuing from a previous point.
Mhm.
And I tell people, whenever it kind of comes up, I tell people, like, we look at our listeners as people that are sharing in this shared experience. This is why we want them to get to know each other, because I feel that a lot of people that are attracted to our show, it's not just the science information. It's not just the critical thinking. It's that we clearly all love each other. We clearly, do things together. Like we're not just podcasters, like, with George, like we see each other all the time in person and do stuff together. Like, we
Yeah.
put these shows on all over the place. So, my answer to the question is yes, our audience is part of the family because they know all of this information about us, and they are attracted to it and they want that. So we're kind of like-minded in a lot of ways. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it's remarkable when I go and see people at any show that we do and I start talking, and we might have 20 seconds to talk to each other. They're coming to buy some swag or they want a book signed, and we just launch into a conversation naturally, and it's not stiff. It just feels like I know everybody.
I've talked about it's the one-sided friendship,
Yeah.
like that they know us intimately. Like if you've listened to my show for freaking 15, 18 years, and I might not know anything about that person, but they know a lot about you. So even though it is a one-sided friendship, it's still a friendship because they've invested, hundreds of hours into listening to us babble about all the stuff we babble about. And like, folks in the audience, please know how much we appreciate it. Like we legit appreciate it and value it and think it's something really, really special. So when you do make a comment or when you do approach one of us at a show and be like, is it okay to it's okay. It's totally okay to chat or ask a question or
the
whatever.
community is what keeps us going. Like
100%.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Going out into the void, and there was like, if you know what I mean, we wouldn't still be doing this.
I mean, Chicago was like,
that was awesome. Chicago,
God, the
was
vibe
awesome.
in that, whatever,
Yeah.
the 300 people that were there, it was so encouraging of like from the first second.
Yeah. And I have to say, I underestimated it going in,
Right.
because I'm thinking, I'm the producer of the show, right? So I always have to have my producer hat on to some degree. You know what I mean? I'm always thinking about pulling it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I do worry about getting too navel gazing. Like, we can't talk about ourselves too much. We have to make sure that we're bringing some meat in there. I still think that's true.
And we do it. It has to happen. We have to have hard-hitting content.
But I underestimated how much our listeners who were there wanted us just to talk about ourselves, because apparently they like that.
Well, but
they watch us drive at 4 a.m. Come on,
Steve, the point is though and this is I don't know if
it was
it
was the 1,000th episode, and it was, I underestimated how important that was to everybody else.
Yeah,
I think is what I'm saying.
But Steve, part of
but it was awesome to see.
We are expressing, I think, something that is super mammalian. Like we are expressing sitting around the campfire. Yeah. And everybody's bringing their own food together and helping everybody survive, right? We are creatures that need this. We want this. So much of us want the sense of community. This is part of the reason why mental health is so bad today, because our sense of community is electronic now.
But you know what? There's a research to back this up, that people who are part of religious groups have certain advantages, health-wise, longevity-wise,
Sure.
whatever, and it does all stem from community.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's the one thing that, like, being part of a church has, that's a definite positive, is that it is a community of people who care about each other. You
Yeah,
know,
and
But like
that's why
like
we
Jay said though at the 1000th, like, yeah, but like do it for Lord of the Rings or do
yeah,
it for Star
right.
Wars. You know,
Do it
like
for something else.
do it for something
So,
else. Yeah, yeah.
and I also remember, like, in the early days of our involvement with skepticism, you know, that where, especially when we were talking with the guys from CSI and from the humanitarian, you know, wing of that organization, the humanists, right? Humanists explicitly, and I remember Paul Kurtz telling me this. It's like, our goal is to replace the religious community with a humanist community.
Mhm.
But that was their goal, to be the community for people who were atheists, basically, to get all of the benefits, but without
Yeah.
the paranormal, you know, pseudoscience stuff. And I definitely see the value in that. And Jay and I have had this conversation, and, you know, there were times, you know, I don't have to get into details, but they're like, the skeptical community has had its rough patches
Of
and
course.
its bumps along the way.
Any group of people, Steve.
It's, of course, it's
Yeah.
unavoidable.
Yeah.
But, you know, in Jay and I,
Skills.
yeah, we explicitly said, you know what, but through it all, one thing has been consistently true, and that is that our group of SGU community people are pretty consistently awesome.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to really just focus on building our community and not sort of worry about the whatever the greater community, you know, because it's
Yeah, you have surfed the kind of
yeah
the top of the turmoil. That's
we've
like,
tried not to
you've
get
got this
dragged
nice
into
yeah,
it.
it's pretty cool.
I'm not
I have
saying
to-
we're untouched, but
Right,
it's
right.
but it yeah, we've tried to do that. Yeah.
I had to write I've done this in lots of variations of this, where, like, I have to give places, it could be hotels, it could be theaters or whatever. They want to know who we are, right? A lot of times, like, sometimes they're cautious about who they let do an event. I think it's super smart because you could get a group in. So I've written this in so many different ways. Like, I tell them about the podcast, we're doing it. And I say, and I just wrote this like last week, I wrote an updated version of this for a theater that we're going to be in Chicago, right? Because they requested it. And I'm like, let me rewrite this whole thing. I'm going to make a new version of it. I put pictures in. So basically, I wrote, we have been doing this for 20 years. We've recorded 1,000 episodes, and we have never had one incident at one of our shows ever.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. I mean, the worst thing that ever happened, George, was that drunk idiot when we were in Australia, which wasn't even our event. It wasn't our event. No, no, I'm talking. It was when George saved me and Courtney from this guy verbally abusing us.
That fucking guy.
I wrote that, and I'm like, damn, I am so proud of this community, because luckily, all of our personalities have, you know, attract just the right kind of mindset, you know, the right kind of people. And, like, you know,
although, all right, so somebody in the chat asked, did an SGU fan ever get creepy or threatening or anything of that sort with us? Sure, of course, any public, you know, figure is going to have those kind of encounters, and
But I apologized, and here I am.
George said he was sorry.
I said I was
never
sorry.
do it again. Don't touch it in the back.
He sent us a card. It was very sweet. So, and we've had to have conversations, and it's been a learning experience going back 20 years, you know, going back to the beginning, like our first hams, you know, we've had to have explicit conversations about how we deal with certain situations.
Yeah.
I mean, I was coming at it from a perspective of, I have training as a physician, as a professional, where you have to know how to deal professionally with other people who are inappropriate. You know, what do you do when somebody crosses a line? And so I sort of had to train Bob, Evan, and Jay, like, what to do and what not to do at live events.
Sure,
you know?
of course.
And they learned, you know, too, on their own. But you know, I tried to help, you know, and then also, we're all guys, so we got help from the women in our lives who have a different
radar
than what we have. So again, I don't want to talk about specific people because I don't think it's fair. But, you know, there were definitely times when there were, you know, people who were, you know, I'll just say one thing. Courtney completely pegged somebody like from the get-go and told us this person is a grade A clinger. You guys got to watch out.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, and she was
Yeah.
100% correct. And so anyway, what we do with those people is we're polite, we're friendly, we're professional, and we just don't, bring them closer in.
Yeah, we don't bring them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. We don't have to do anything. We've never had to actually do anything. We
No.
just don't engage,
Yeah.
with people who
I remember walking around a building once. I think it was some conference we were at, and there was
Yeah.
one. There was a person who, again, it's a one-sided friendship, but there is a line, and so
Yeah,
people
there's a line.
sometimes they presume
That they know you too well.
They know you too well, or that there's an open invitation.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're going to dinner. Oh, where are we going? No, it's like, no, we're not going anywhere. It's
Oh,
like,
that happens
Jay
all
and
the
I are-
time.
That happens all the
so
time.
That happens
Sometimes
all
you
the
have to
time.
kind of be like, okay, well,
We've kind of
we'll
agreed
meet
that
secretly in the back or whatever. Yeah. So
we've been socially engineered too many times. We've had
Mhm.
that happen too many times, and it finally got to the point where we all agreed, like, we just got to be a little bit more like, look, we can, we're gonna.
yeah, this is family time. Sorry,
And
we can't do
I'm
it.
fine with
Yeah.
that too, because like the people typically take it okay, like they get it.
Yeah.
They typically take, yeah. So most of the time, and if you're just honest with people, they're totally fine with it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Sometimes we have family with us. So if it's just us and there's no family, we're a little bit more free. And if
Right.
we're still very. We're not gonna. It's not an open invitation for anybody to join us for dinner when we're like, do you have to prep or whatever. But when it's family time, then we have the guy. Sorry, it's family time.
Yeah.
But we all, George, and
Because we have to do that. We have to have some protected time for our
course.
family.
It's not just that though. Like when you're at a conference in particular, and you're on all the time, you're constantly interacting with people, and you're trying to bring your best self.
Yeah.
It's a high
Well,
energy state.
we have work dinners. So
Right.
there are times when it's like this is a work meal
We're
and
gonna
so
prep.
we can't have other people there.
We have 4 hours of shit we got to fill tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Or it's a family meal and like
Yeah.
this is a
But
family
Steve, there's
meal.
also times when we need to just let our, let it down.
Yeah.
Like, when we have, this happens every time we.
But we usually double dip that. We usually will do that during our work meals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like those moments where we're all like, we got to go and not be publicly facing right now, just be with each other and kind of relax and reset. You know what I mean? I need that because it's a high energy state. It's, there's a lot of demand. Like, when we were at the 1,000th show and we had this giant line of people that wanted book signing and buying swag and all that stuff, like we have to be very attentive. The line is moving. People are talking. They're asking questions. There isn't like sit back and relax. Like you're constant. It's constant.
Oh, and to be clear, we love it, but it's work.
It is.
You
work.
can love it and have it be exhausting at the same time.
Yeah.
You're on. When you're
You're
on,
on.
it's a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's high
there's more
energy.
calories.
It
more
is high
calories
energy.
being expended.
And then we need downtime.
Yeah.
Right. So some people don't get that.
And the vast majority do. The vast majority do.
Yeah.
And then
It's-
occasionally somebody needs gentle reminding.
Yeah, general reminding, and then those that don't get the general reminding, it's like it ends up just being more sad because they just don't understand, and you kind of like you have to sort of figure out a way to.
And the three of us in
someone gets
particular,
inappropriate.
I
just
like,
tell people, treat them as adults and say, sorry guys, this has to be on our own. Or
but I
whatever.
have multi-tracks happening at the same time, just like you guys. Like if when we're preparing for an extravaganza, like I know George, you're like getting yourself in the frame of mind.
Yeah.
You're reviewing in your head what's going to happen that night.
I'm parking the van, whatever.
Yeah, right. Steve is always thinking editorially about the show and the content and who's going to do what and the pacing. Which believe it or not, like he does have to think about that, and we go through this.
It doesn't just happen. It's not.
No, it's
it
a
should
thing.
feel like it just happens.
Right. No,
that's the
lots
thing.
of planning.
When you do your job well, it should feel organic and natural and everything.
Yeah.
But it is planned. Yeah, and it's managed in real time. I've had to train these guys to know, like, because initially they didn't know, like don't push back against me. If I'm saying we're moving on to the next thing, we're fucking moving
There's
on.
a
to
reason.
The next
yeah.
Do not push back.
And we did in the early
initially.
years.
I know I had to.
Yeah, but Steve, we all realize that there's a method to Steve's madness, and we let him drive. Right?
It's a skill you learn too. Also over time, you just learn. It's like,
I get a sense like I'm bored. We need to move on. Sometimes
and also
that's all it is.
For me, I'm like when we're at an event, and I am the producer of that event. Right? Anything that we do that's live. I am multi-tracking at all
Yeah,
times. I have so many things to think about because I know like things are going to happen. I got to talk to Ian. I got to talk to the hotel people. I've got to make, so I'm spinning plates and I'm, right there, like talking to people. And like, and it's funny is like even when I go to the bathroom, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like our
You're next to
audience
the person,
is so comfortable with us because typically guys don't talk to each other when they're holding their penises in the bathroom. Like we give each other a little space.
Holding each other's
Yeah.
different.
But
that's usually in the parking lot afterwards.
Right.
But, yeah.
but people that listen to the show, this goes back into Tam years.
Yeah.
They would just turn to me and start talking. And I'm like, that's cool. Yep. I don't care. We talk. Because that's
I had one guy's like, I'm peeing next to Steven Novella, but whatever. I get that.
That was on an airplane.
Yeah. The thing is, we're very tolerant of that. We get it. We're fans too. I've been at events where like I'm just a random anonymous person, and you get in the presence of somebody that you really admire or whatever, and you're like you want to whatever, you have some kind of meaningful exchange with them. I get it. We get it. We are very understanding of all of that. That's why we always try to be, gentle and polite and everything. Somebody wrote in the comment that, telling us neurodivergence helps, right? Because, and that's funny because we had that explicit discussion too, because yes, there are neurodivergent people at our events and in our community, and they're awesome, but they need to be sometimes right. So, and here's a particular instance. Again, I'm not going to try to say in the information that we give who I'm talking about, but one of the people that we work with was complaining to me about one of the listeners, and they were basically saying that they're not getting the hint, and I said, listen, they're clearly neurodivergent. They don't get the hint. They will not get the hint.
They don't see it.
You can't be mad at them because they're not reading your subtle social cues.
Right.
Just tell them outright, listen, whatever, just I'm not interested or whatever. Just tell them directly and politely. If they still bother you after that, then come to me and I'll deal with it. Yeah. And they took my advice, and that was it. It solved the problem. Because that's all they needed was to be told explicitly, that what they needed to be told. Yeah. You can't give them clues, like social clues, and then be mad at them for not getting it, because that's not the way it works.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
I have to run.
Yeah, I got to go too.
So basically, you do your own laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. just to wrap it.
Yeah.
Thank you, George, for starting this conversation.
It's fun, right? Yeah. No, I'm playing a show at Cedar Crest College, which is a local college here. Which, by the way, it's a show called Disenchanted, and it's all of the Disney princesses, and they're all complaining about like the way they're drawn.
I love it.
Like how awful the princes are. Yeah. Like Pocahontas is like, I'm 10. Why am I being sexualized? It's amazing. It's such a great
idea.
So
fun
show.
Yeah, total meta show. And just they all come out, and like Rapunzel comes out. She's like, merchandising. Why are you selling my? Why don't we get any money off this? It's just really, really fun. So I'm playing drums for that. So I got to run, but this was really fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you,
George. We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Steve and Ian, after we say goodbye, the three of us need to talk. Good night. Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Goodbye. Let me hit the button.
Bye.
So long, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.
Okay, hi.
Is it just us?
It is.
Oh my God. Okay, I have like 90 seconds.
I know it's not ideal, but
Jay doesn't know that we're on the end show thing, but
Okay.
he called me because we were talking about something else.
Okay.
But hold on, let me just.
All right.
All right, we'll do, Jay. Bye. I tried to let him know that the end show was happening. He's totally forgotten. He's like
Okay.
that this even exists. So
Right,
it's
right.
like,
which is good. Which is
and
good.
I had to kick Steve because he was still there.
Right.
It's
I
like,
figured because Steve has no clue, right? Like
he has
forever.
no
He has
clue. No, yeah, nobody. has
someday
any
we have to compile all these into a single show
Yeah.
and then like present it to him on a disc and be like, this is what's happened
This is what's happening.
every Friday. You had no idea. All right, give me one good question, chat. Give me the best question you got. Come on. The best question, and I'll give you a 90-second answer, and then I got to run.
Dry L or dry cleaning? Sorry. Get a decent question, chat. Jay has forgotten. I know he has forgotten. Question for the brother: what kind of father-in-law will he be? The Discord has thoughts on that. Okay, we'll save that for next week or next time. Sorry. Get a question. Yo, it can be laundry related if you wish.
Sure. Laundry related questions, fine.
Evan
I get
is
no.
away. Bob is haunting. He's doing that. We're trying to convince him to let us do a stream from the haunt. You know, so we'll bring the backpack.
Oh, that would be so
do the
cool.
whole thing, right? So that could be. I've asked George that so many times, the best traditional Ukrainian meal.
Yeah, a good borscht and pierogies. That's like you can't really.
We learned, even though some of us were wrong, said Romania, that borscht is from Ukraine.
Ukraine, hello. Yeah, as a bald guy, best way to shave your head.
Ooh.
They have those devices that you like do this.
Yeah.
And I used that once and absolutely tore the living shit out of my skull. So don't get these things because it's horse shit. I use a woman's razor, which is called
the pink one. Probably
it's
pink.
they're great because they have a very big flat head. It's multiple things, and it's a subscription. So like what's it called? Tutti or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's like a women's leg razor, quote unquote. That works the best for me. So yeah. Favorite musical instruments and Y96s. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them are my favorite.
What's
favorite Beatles album? Abbey Road. Abbey Road. For me, it's Abbey Road. That's just like, oh my gosh. Not the Ukraine. No, Tom. You don't say the.
Did I say the Ukraine? I definitely didn't mean to.
Oh no. Someone said it. Tom just said it. Yeah.
Okay.
Best fictional musician? Oh, that's Nigel Tufnell from Spinal Tap, obviously, because his solos help him express his personality. Pierogi is already plural.
It's true.
Pierogi.
Although I went to a Polish
pierog.
I went to the Polish deli, and in English she said these are pierogies, but she had a Polish accent. But I think that's it's American.
It's like cannolis. You don't say cannolis or like espressos, espressi. Yeah. Okay, I gotta run.
It's gotta go.
Secret.
I'll show chat, everybody. This is an actual fan interaction. Here you go, chat.
This is the best day of my life. Mine too.
Mine too.
Where are we going?
Oh, let's not spoil it.
There you go. Actual fan interaction.
I got that.
Oh.
Classic.
This is
just
all right, kids. Bye. Thanks, Ian.
Bye, George. Bye.
Ian, you're the best.
Thank you.
You're the best. The best.
Bye.